We are live and all back together again. It's like a reunion of sorts.
It's like a TV show where the characters spend part of the season split up, and you're just waiting for them to get back together again. Yeah, it's like
Yep.
Well, let's hit the old intro. Welcome to the Rotohackers podcast. We're back. My name is Judah Buddha. I'm here with AJ Herschel, the kid, and further over there is it's Jared, and he is the ultimate stud. Can't remember. It's been so long.
It was originally Absolute, but maybe it changes like every season. Like, you know how Spider-Man is like the amazing, the spectacular. Like Jared's just gonna get like a list of adjectives after every year.
I don't know if I deserve one after this year. This year was not my best year by any means.
Hey, but you got the Rotohackers one though. That's the one
right.
that mattered.
And I didn't.
I
got to the final. I lost by like a point and a half. Yeah. But whatever.
Oh, that's right. Oh,
yeah. I still say, we need to find the points. Find the points. Find me a point and a half. That's all I'm looking for, Yahoo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we already have Ryan, and you know what he's here for.
There he is. Yes, sir.
You know I had to be on time for this one. Let's go, Bucks. I gotta tell you, I gotta give it to them. But what in the world? I mean, when it was happening, it happened like twice. They got down the field. I mean, there was that one time that the Packers could not.
It's like I used to think it was Belichick doing this. Now I think it's Brady. Now I have to conclude that it's Brady. That the pressure of playing Brady makes people stupid because I that's the only way to explain the stuff that I have consistently seen now over. We're not even talking the season. We're not even talking years. We're talking decades of stupidity that people have done. From the Falcons in the Super Bowl was some of the most famous stuff, but the Packers in that game, I mean, just collectively, the entire internet, the entire Twitterverse going, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I mean, it like that play at the end of the first half where Scotty Miller caught that touchdown and King, like, I don't know what route he was guarding. It was like he wasn't guarding underneath, he wasn't guarding the out, and he wasn't guarding the deep ball. Like, basically, he was standing in a spot.
Yeah, it felt like to me he was like, I'm getting ready to walk back. It's done. Yeah, 5 seconds left.
It's the Jets game all over again. The cover zero play all over again.
Yeah, and then of course, then the final clincher was, and I won't put this all on Matt LaFleur, because if Aaron Rodgers had gotten the ball in the end zone, then they wouldn't have been having that debate in the first place. But like third down, Aaron Rodgers, like I thought, he's going to run for a touchdown, or at least he
had a huge lane to run.
Right,
he had just been like on all of ESPN's favorite clips because of the last game.
For the fake out with the Rams player.
I thought, here it comes again. I was watching, I was like, he's gonna do it again. He just has to run in.
And he forces it into double coverage.
Oh my God.
It's beautiful.
And then Matt LaFleur, the most blame goes to Matt LaFleur. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? You're down 8 points. You're gonna kick a field goal and bank on being able to stop Tom Brady basically from getting one first down. That was pretty much what it came down to.
Yeah. You think you're going to stop Brady from getting a first down? You don't have to stop. It's like, I would understand if you just have to stop him from getting a touchdown, right? Stop him from getting points. But it was only like 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
Tom Brady eats 2 minutes for breakfast.
Yeah. And what part of what had happened up to that point made you believe that they
Your
could
defense
stop
could do
them
it.
from getting one first down.
Yeah.
What I mean, maybe if this was some like 13-10 game or something like that, maybe then, but no. So I just don't. So it's always like, I mean, you got to credit Tom Brady for being able to do this stuff, and the Bucks had a very good offensive scheme. They ran smart plays in key situations. Like they sealed it, I think, with Godwin on a sweep.
Godwin was looking great.
They made smart plays when they needed to. But it's always this thing where you just look at the people playing what used to be the Pats, and now is just apparently Tom Brady going, do you guys just get so nervous or amped up and you choke trying to beat him? I just don't get it.
It was so much fun to watch too, because I'm a Bears fan. So watching the Packers get so close to the Super Bowl, I don't care that we went 8-8 and exited the playoffs in the first round, because that was the most fun game I could have gotten all season. That was a late Christmas present for me. And even me though, I'm so confused. Like, dude, like you said, 2 times they go to the red zone. 2 times they go to the red zone. First of all, you target Devontae Adams 5 times. I get that he's one of the best receivers in football, if not the absolute best. Where's Robert Tonyan, who had 11 goal line touchdowns? He missed a wide open Allen Lazard. He missed a wide open Allen Lazard on 3rd down the first time. You had MB, and then the last time when he should have run it, he throws it sidearm to Devontae Adams in double coverage where the 2 guys are directly in front of him, and over to the right, you've got Marquez Valdez-Scantling in one-on-one coverage in the corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I'm stunned, and I was happy to watch the game, but I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it was weird
every time.
Well, so that to your guys, to more to your point, Jared, about and kind of what both of you guys are saying about this like spell that I guess Tom Brady has, and looking at how the Patriots did this year, how bad they did this year. I mean, they did pretty bad.
Okay, they did pretty bad.
They did pretty bad.
But first of all, most of their losses were to really good teams. They lost to the Chiefs, they lost to the Seahawks, they lost to the Rams, and the Bills twice. It's like a lot of
the definition of bad. You lose a lot.
No. They had
doesn't matter if you're losing to good teams.
Second of all,
that makes you the bad team.
Half of their defense is gone. They had no wide receivers basically the entire year, and then their running back game was mediocre at best. So, like, the fact that Belichick got that motley crew to 7-9, he almost got them to 500. Remember when we were all praising Mike Tomlin for going 8-8 with the defense and Mason Rudolph? Belichick took the craziest band of people you could possibly get and pushed them forward to 7-9. I can't believe that he did that.
I think the thing that is sort of worrisome for the Patriots going forward is Rex Ryan pointed this out on one of the NFL shows, talking about how like people don't go to play for Bill Belichick. They're going to play with Tom Brady. And so we kind of saw a little bit of that, of course, with Antonio Brown hooking back up with him in Tampa and stuff like that.
And Gronk, too.
Gronk, Leonard Fournette, all those guys. And if you look at the Patriots roster, I mean, they really just haven't been improving it for a few years now. And so you see now why Tom Brady, I mean, I understood why he left when he left, but I thought like, oh, maybe he just doesn't want to wait for the amount of time it's going to take for them to build back up again. But I don't know. I mean, now at this point, like some of their recent draft picks have not, N'Keal Harry and Sony Michel, have not been panning out that well. So, who knows? I mean, we'll talk about this in a second. I'm sure when we transition, they're going to be multiple quarterbacks available for trade. There's going to be guys that New England can maybe trade up and get in the draft if they'd rather go that route. So there are ways it could turn around fairly quickly because they could have a much better quarterback in there next year. But just that roster in general does not have a ton of especially on offense, it does not have playmakers right now. So
I agree. And Ryan N brings us, we're going to talk about this last, but assuming y'all picking the Chiefs to win like everyone else is. I am, but I don't think it's going to be easy. Well, no, I don't think it's going to be easy. However, I don't know what you guys think, but watching the Chiefs, like they can pretty much do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be, they're not going to be able to stop the Chiefs. But will they be able to score enough to beat the Chiefs, I think is the question. What do you guys think?
I think they can. That's the thing. Like, I don't even know who I'm picking yet because first of all, the Bucs get Antonio Brown back and they get Antoine Winfield back. So they're getting one of the top safeties in the league in his first season. He's a top 10 safety already. And their wide receiver core instantly, in my opinion, becomes the best when you add Antonio Brown. You got Evans. To be fair, he dropped like 7 passes against the Packers. But if he's back to normal, you've got him, Godwin, and Antonio Brown. And yeah, the Chiefs are great. The one thing I really don't want to bet against is Andy Reid on a bye week. His record after bye weeks is ridiculously good. If you give him time to plan, he will find a way to beat you. And the Chiefs' second half adjustments that they're able to make oftentimes on defense, which won them a lot of games last season, that's going to be hard to overcome. For me, it's the coaching because I think the Bucs definitely have the player talent on defense and especially in the passing game on offense to be able to outshoot the Chiefs. I think it's going to be a battle of coaching, I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope it's going to be a good game. I'm like, this is the opposite of the Super Bowl that I was rooting for. I really wanted to see Packers Bills. That was really the Super Bowl that That's wanted.
Who I wanted
from the beginning. But it's not really anything against the Bucs. I don't even hate Tom Brady. There's not anything against them, and it's not anything against the Chiefs. But I saw the Chiefs last year. I saw Tom Brady 2 years ago. It's a little bit of
almost
fatigue.
Every year we see Tom Brady.
We've seen Tom Brady 10 times, literally 10 times in the Super Bowl. So I'm tired of seeing Tom Brady
most of my adult life.
Yes. So
literally the entirety of my life I've seen him in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right. So it's not that, but I'm just tired of it. Anyway, so I don't know how this game's exactly going to go. I think it will be. I don't know if the Chiefs will win, but I will say that I think that the game will be dictated by what the Chiefs do more than what the Bucs do to them. Like Judah said, if the Chiefs are on their game, good luck stopping them. They have too many mismatches between Mahomes' talent. Travis Kelce is the huge X factor there, because how many teams have someone who can really guard a tight end like him very well? And to almost the same extent, Tyreek Hill, because he's so fast. But, you get receivers that are fast, not quite as fast as him. He's not as much of an outlier as Kelce is to be able to, do what he does at his position. And we saw that reflected in the fantasy numbers this year. At the same time, the Chiefs have had stretches of games going back to last year where they had a bad first half. Or the game this year at home, they lost to the Raiders or whatever. So I don't think that's going to be as much of a problem with them getting focused in the Super Bowl, but you never know. And so I think the Bucs are good enough that if the Chiefs aren't careful and they do have some sort of lull like that, they could get into a position like the Packers did where they don't have quite enough to come back. So.
Yeah, and especially looking at what the Buccaneers pass rush did to Rodgers last week. 12 quarterback hits and 6 sacks on top of that. And guess who just went out for the Kansas City Chiefs? Eric Fisher, left tackle. That is going to hurt because Jason Pierre-Paul is playing like he's 27. that is going to be a big X factor too. What happens on the offensive line of the Chiefs?
Yeah,
27 and has all his fingers.
Right, exactly.
But unlike Aaron Rodgers, though, Mahomes he's gonna scramble so much more. He's gonna run. He's going to get yards with his legs. Although maybe with the little toe problem he's having, it didn't look like it hindered him too much. I was supposed to look. Told myself to look see if it was hindering him, but I didn't. I forgot. I mean, mainly because he was just passing it so beautifully the whole game. So one of my friends said they've learned to do a 40-yard screen, like a screen 40 yards out.
Yeah.
Like, how do you, so I don't know. They're definitely going, I think they're going to raise, well, I guess, so we're talking about the big game. Are we allowed to say Super Bowl? I don't know. Are we going to get,
Well, why would we not be?
Haven't you noticed that, like, people don't say it on YouTube and commercials and stuff? It's like there's like a trademark on it, and you can get dinged or something.
Seriously? We've gone through.
That's why everything says the big game, unless you're like the channel or something. Anyways, so I guess we're talking about the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a great game, and I think the Chiefs. Now, I know Ryan N doesn't want to hear this, but I think the Chiefs are going to rise to the occasion. Like the people they have the hardest time with are the ones that they're just kind of like, oh, we're going to beat them, and they just don't show up. They start fooling around, and they're not going to do that against Brady. Well, unless they're under the Brady spell. I just don't see them being under the Brady spell. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I mean, it's just a different, it's just a different team. I mean, he's with a different team. The Bucks now, assuming they get Antonio Brown back, I mean, they beat.
He's already cleared to play.
Oh, there you go. So, I mean, they beat the Packers without Antonio Brown. And I mean, I think that's huge. I mean, look at the weapons that Brady has there. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Gronk, 2 different running backs with Fournette and Ronald Jones. I mean, the offense is there to put up, especially like if Arians can keep calling plays, or whoever if their offensive coordinator's calling plays, I don't know. If they can keep doing that, they really, came out. Scotty Miller. Yeah, I forgot Scotty Miller. I mean, so you've got all these guys. Yeah, I'm just looking at Thomas H's question. Yeah, we're getting to that. All this stuff, and then, a pretty solid defense on top of that too. So I don't know. I might actually root for the Bucks. I don't know why. Just part of me thinks it would be funny to see Brady win one more. Yeah. Because it really, it's sort of a contrarian take on this here, or an antagonistic take, where the narrative then becomes, Belichick was just riding Brady's coattails. And I find that hilarious, and it's just going to be because everyone has to take a narrative to the farthest extreme, especially in 24-hour media, and so that's going to be the narrative. It's just like, it was Brady all along. Belichick's not that smart. I just find that hilarious.
So, Jared, my one question then is, what is the one thing Antonio Brown is going to do that gets him banned from playing in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, maybe Tom Brady's got a handle on it, because now they're so close. Tom Brady is going to be there, just like in his face, like, I swear, if you think anything, I will strangle you.
I picture him doing for some reason, him and Tom Cruise have a real same vibe, and I feel like I see him doing that Tom Cruise thing, like, I'm putting my butt out on the line for you guys.
Yeah. And yeah, they do have a similar vibe. Yeah.
Well, we got Ryan N saying Bucks D-line versus Chiefs O-line is key to Bucks winning, and I think that's what you were saying earlier. AJ.
Also, it's in Tampa. I'm very interested to see if that's
true.
anything. That's just hilarious to me.
Yeah, that is interesting. I heard them say that, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, first time ever that a team in the Super Bowl has hosted the game. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was some of the thinking? Do you think it factored in at all for Brady when he's like,
I
it's
don't-
Tampa this
They
year?
scheduled this stuff way ahead of time.
I think it was more about working with Bruce Arians and the weapons that he had there around him. You know, it was probably, I think he wanted to live in Florida probably, and Gronk, it was probably easier to convince him to come. Brady said he was tired of those New England winters. So I mean, this was maybe like 1% part of the bargain. I mean, it matters to him because he wants the accolades. He wants history any place he can take it. But like it don't think it would have been any sort of real tiebreaker or anything like that. Or, I mean, maybe it would have been the tiebreaker actually, if like maybe all things
little tiebreaker.
If like all things, if it was just 50-50 between two teams, maybe that would have been it. But yeah, I don't think it's big enough.
Thomas H says, so this is what you were reading. So
yeah,
how much would GM Jared be willing to give up in a trade for Stafford? So let's talk about, have we talked enough about the Super Bowl?
I think so.
I think we're good. Yeah.
If anything comes up, we'll bring it back up. It's no problem. But we do want to keep this short tonight.
Yeah.
Quarterback. Oh yeah. We used to do something for this.
Yeah, we had
didn't
a jingle for that. Yeah, quarterback controversy. Yeah.
I forgot about that until you wrote that. Okay, that's good. Okay, so we're back in quarterback controversy land.
With multiple quarterbacks, and Stafford isn't even the biggest one potentially on the market.
List them out for me. Who do we got?
So we've got Deshawn Watson.
For sure.
Well, not necessarily for sure, but it's looking like he's going to force his way out of Houston.
Yeah.
The difference there is Stafford and Detroit have already mutually agreed to part ways.
Yeah.
With Deshaun, he hasn't formally requested a trade. I don't know that I don't know how much they've been listening to offers, but it's sounding like out. Yeah, and I don't blame him.
Yeah.
So Watson, Stafford, and then after that you start getting into your Carson Wentz. Is Carson Wentz going to stay in Philadelphia? And actually, they just hired the Colts offensive coordinator as their head coach, Nick Sirianni. So that's interesting. Carson Wentz is owed all this money, but they've also got Jalen Hurts. What's going to happen there? Sam Darnold, if the Jets take a quarterback at 2, are they going?
It looks like Sam Darnold's gone, though, right? I mean, that's probably the least questionable.
I would think so. If it was me, I would move on from Sam Darnold, and take Zach Wilson if he's there, probably.
Really, over Fields?
I think over Fields, man. It's one of those, like, I think there will be a lot of debate between the two of them. Fields, some of the stuff he's done scares me. I mean, he's had monster games. I don't know, but I think I don't know. You can make a case for either one. Regardless, I would take one of them there if I was the Jets. And then who's the other? Who are the other guys I'm forgetting here?
Trey Lance.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I was thinking of other like free agent or trade bait quarterbacks. Trubisky's a free agent. That's
wait. So he is definitely a free agent. He is.
Because they didn't
being released or what?
His contract is up. We didn't give him a 5th-year option,
and they're not tagging him for that kind of money.
So are they going with Nick?
Draft maybe, or try to trade,
No.
So, but regardless, they're probably moving on to somebody else. So then, so then another one who's far less likely than any of the others, I think, to move is Dak.
Really?
Dak, yeah. I mean, because Dak will get franchise tagged, I think. So I'm just running through.
Well, there's a little bit of controversy
With Rodgers.
With Rodgers,
Yeah.
but I was going to say with the Saints,
Yeah, them
who
too.
is going to be the main guy there, right? Is that what you're going to say, AJ?
Nope. I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay. So, right?
Yeah.
So Rodgers and who Breeze's replacement, if he does leave.
Right. Which
Is there any more?
I mean, there are other controversies other places like the Rams, LA.
Mhm.
Like they may not necessarily bring Goff back, and I mean, if I were them, I would want to move on from him too. But at the same time, they've traded picks away. Are they really in a position to trade for someone? I don't know what their alternatives are going to look like considering their position.
Yeah. Oh, also 49ers and whether they think Jimmy Garoppolo's for real too, and if they're going to hang on to him.
Right.
Well, so out of all those, is Stafford? Actually, Stafford might be the for sure one, right? Like he is for sure not coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, who do you want to talk about first? Stafford? Do you have a take?
We can.
Either of you guys?
Yeah. So I'll answer Thomas H's question. So I would probably be willing, and I read this somewhere else too. So I don't think it's me overpaying. I'd be willing to give up first and third this year and a second next year.
Not bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's similar to what Carson Palmer fetched about the same time. I would say Stafford's probably a slightly better quarterback than Carson Palmer.
So you're talking about to go to the Colts.
To go to the Colts, yeah. Which I am so emotionally committed to this happening right now that I will be extremely disappointed if they don't get him. Because it could not be more perfect, right? He's been in a northern Midwest city playing in a dome. And now he can go to another northern Midwest city playing in a dome, except now he'll have a great offensive line. He'll have a great running game. He'll have a great defense behind him. And, the receivers are solid. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they can sign an Allen Robinson. Maybe they can sign a Kenny Galladay.
True.
Pittman's going into his second year. If Paris Campbell can ever stay on the field. So, and he's got a backup that's another, basically like an Eason clone as his second year backup, or I'm sorry, a Stafford clone.
Yeah.
In his second year backup, that would be Eason. It is just like the most perfect situation ever created for someone to fall into. And that doesn't mean he'll go there, because there's going to be a lot of teams, I think, that at least have some level of interest. I think there's a good chance San Francisco, could pursue it. Washington, Denver, maybe New England, maybe. And then, beyond that, I mean, I think really probably the two biggest ones are going to be Indy and San Francisco, because from what I've heard, Detroit is going to try to do right by Stafford and send him somewhere he wants to go. And it sounds like destination number one would probably be Indy. And then, maybe number two would be San Francisco. So I don't know that they'll necessarily trade him to his 1A destination if that's what he wants. But I think they will try to get him on a good team, because if they're not going to do that, otherwise, why would he then leave in the first place just to go to another crappy franchise? So, go ahead.
Speaking of another crappy franchise, is there a possibility he goes to the Bears?
No,
He's not going to the Bears for the same reason that Deshaun Watson's not going to the Colts, is that they're not going to trade him in division.
Exactly.
And so when Deshaun was the first one to really, when it first kind of came out that he wanted to trade, I'm like, well, dang it. I mean, too bad the Colts are in the same division, because that would be the perfect, the perfect get. Yeah. But I would be very happy with Stafford being the number two option there.
Plus, even if he does go to Indianapolis as well, for him at least, between that and San Francisco, how much easier is it to win the AFC South than the NFC West? You really want to go up to play Russell Wilson twice, Kyler Murray year 3 twice, and Aaron Donald twice, when you could get to play year 1 Trevor Lawrence. Houston is an absolute mess, and Tennessee has no pass rush. It is almost too perfect for him to go to Indianapolis.
That's a great point. I hadn't even thought about really the difference in competition with the NFC West. Yeah, you're going to get Aaron Donald coming after you, twice a season. You're going to get the Seahawks defense. You're going to have to play the Cardinals. That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll take every little extra bit.
All right, but just to play the other side here.
No, there is no other side.
Do the brass really want to get another old guy who, I mean, let's be honest, Stafford's not the picture of health.
No,
that's been for several years.
No, that's not true. That's not exactly true. He's only missed last year, or not this past season, but the one before was where he, missed time with
broke
fractures in his back. Right. But prior to that, like he does get hurt, but I mean, that guy, he plays through stuff. And so it's not like he's missing a ton of time apart from last year. Every other year, he's just been out there for 16 games and he's not old. The guy's about to turn 33. So he'll be 33 going into next season. Tom Brady's about to turn 43. And I get that he's an outlier, but we're now seeing an era where quarterbacks can play to 40 or beyond. And let's say you're getting, 4 more years out of him, at really sort of peak or pretty close to peak condition. Let's say he starts dropping off at 37 or whatever. I mean, to have, a good quarterback, I think he's basically like on that fringe of top 10 quarterbacks. And that might sound like, no. If we go through and look at a list, name me 10 quarterbacks that are better than Matt Stafford.
A healthy Matt Stafford. It's not a tremendously long list because you start looking at, what now Drew Brees is, the level he's at. If you go back a few years to where we had, Drew Brees at a stronger level, Brady's still doing well. But like right now, you can maybe find 8 or 9 guys that are better than Stafford. But apart from that, give me Stafford. Yeah, and even thinking about Indy and he got banged up a lot, but the Lions' offensive line was never the picture of consistency in the least. You're going behind a top 5 offensive line in Indianapolis, and you're getting Jonathan Stinkin' Taylor, one of the best defenses in football. And may I point out, the Indianapolis Colts have the second most cap space in the NFL, so they can get him anything he needs to complete this roster, be it another wide receiver, be it a number 1 tight end, even though I think they're doing great with Trey Burton and that cycle that they have going. Maybe they make the defense even better. And you've got Rodrigo Blankenship now, who can win you games as well going into his second season. They got money. They've got the space. They got an easy division. I mean, Jared basically laid it all out for you.
Let's just real quick. Let's roll through.
Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott. Who else? Who am I missing?
So would you take Lamar?
Yes.
Oh, because you would. Okay. See, after what I've seen in the playoffs, I'm not so sure that I would take Lamar. But okay. So for me, let's roll it off. Josh Allen. Josh Allen's one.
Josh Allen, Mahomes,
Deshaun. Well, hold
Lamar.
on. Let me give you my list, and then you can tell me the ones.
Okay.
Yeah. So Allen, Watson, Mahomes. Herbert. Herbert would be 4. I would not take Lamar because maybe Lamar turns out to be, but that's 4 for me there. NFC, Dak, Rodgers. So that's 6.
Tom Brady.
Well, I wouldn't take not Tom Brady at 43 now for maybe for 1 year, but not Tom Brady at 42, 43. Brady. Okay, I would not. So Russell Wilson for me would be 7. Kyler would be 8. You could maybe throw in debatable Matt Ryan at 9, because again, this is not a 1-year thing.
Matt Ryan.
I'm being generous. I'm trying to be generous to your point here. I wouldn't take Matt Ryan, but you could argue Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan if they paid me. Okay.
Well, Matt's not that bad. But anyway, so there's 8 for me, and then if you want to throw in, but after that, somebody like Ryan or again Lamar, like I don't know. So there's 8 quarterbacks that I would clearly take over Matt Stafford, and then after that, it starts getting pretty iffy if you're looking at a guy for the next 5 years or so. So I think fringe top 10 is fair. I would put him just inside the top 10.
AJ?
Yeah, I think I would. I think I agree with that. Mahomes, Wilson, Rodgers, Watson.
Tannehill, you don't put in there, huh?
I was about to get there. I was about to say Tannehill and Stafford are kind of close because Tannehill has more running ability, but Stafford's got a bigger arm. And if I'm Indianapolis here, assuming I'm the Colts in this situation, I've got the best offensive line in football, so I'm not going to need a lot of mobility out of my quarterback anyway. If I'm Indianapolis, I mean, I don't really have that much cap space. I mean, I don't have that much draft capital, but I got a lot of cap room, so I'm going to go out and get a wide receiver in free agency this year for Stafford to use that deep arm. So he's sitting around like if I'm Indy in the offense that I like to run under Frank Reich, he's sitting around like number 8, 9 for me.
And Tannehill, I mean, look, respect to Ryan Tannehill for what he's done the last 2 years. Let's not forget that he's done that with Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry has been the guy that defenses have had to key on. You know, Tannehill's done a good job. He's mobile. He's had, a good receiver in A.J. Brown. He's had a solid tight end. He's had, solid complementary receivers. But he's had something. He's had arguably, the best running back or a top 3 running back for the last couple of years. When has Matt Stafford ever had that kind of running game? Never. When has he ever had a good defense? He's had a top 10 defense. So it's just Stafford's one of those guys that I think so much of what's happened with him or the ceiling that's been on him has been more with coaching, with lack of a defense, lack of a running game. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I mean, dude was, former number 1 overall pick. Yeah. At worst you can say that he's been mediocre. You can't say he's ever been bad. And so if you take what's been maybe above average or something on a bad team, you put it on a good team, I would be curious to see what that looks like.
Yeah, especially in what I consider to be one of the most functional offenses in football. Like Frank Reich is an offensive wizard. He's incredible. And I knew that Detroit was messing up Stafford as soon as they fired Jim Caldwell after going 9-7 in back-to-back seasons. And I was like, okay, so this is the franchise that he's stuck with. It's a completely different scenario. And like I said, he doesn't have to play Aaron Rodgers twice anymore. He doesn't have to play the Bears defense twice anymore. And Minnesota, they're annoying at least, but their run game's always been great as well. Adrian Peterson, Latavius Murray.
That will be fine and dandy if he's good. I just don't know that he's good. I can't think of anything that he does special.
I mean, he's got a monster arm. If you're talking about special, I mean, he's got one of the biggest arms in the NFL. I mean, he literally does. I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
he does have a good arm, but yeah, okay. So monster arm,
and the dude is a warrior. Like, there's been a clip that's been going around of like some of the reason like he's been getting hurt. It's one of him just like running around to get the ball off, and then Cleveland just pulverizing him into the turf. I need to see if I can find that one and send it in the chat.
Well, I think that you guys make a good case. I'm still not sold. I mean, it's not up to me. I used to think he was a special player, and then I took him one year in fantasy football and really watched him closely and regretted it.
Well, that also would depend on what year you had him, though. Like, is this Stafford with Megatron or Galladay, or is this Stafford with Marvin Jones Jr. and Amir Abdullah on his starting offense.
It was the last year of Megatron, so I mean, Megatron was sort of fading.
Okay, yeah, and they had no running game back then at all.
That's probably true. But but the other question is, I mean, if we want to get scientific, is it?
When do you ever get scientific? I thought this was all about.
I'm coming to your guys' level. I'm coming to your guys' level.
What happened to this quote? What happened to that?
Yeah, thank you for having that on standby. Thank you.
Well, the question for me is, my feelings are wondering. Was the running game bad because of bad running backs?
Yes.
Bad coaching?
Yes.
Did he have something to do with it?
No, absolutely no.
Because he doesn't strike me as a good playmaker. He just doesn't. There's nothing about his game that makes me think this guy knows football.
I mean, those are just such like generalized. I don't even know how to respond to some of those things because they're so generalized. I mean, the Lions have just consistently not committed to the run. They've typically not had, very good running backs. I don't know. I mean, Stafford, you look back this past year, he was not, that great this past year. I mean, it was fine. I mean, Kenny Golladay
good for like 3 years.
No. 2019, before he got hurt, in 8 games, he had 19 touchdowns. He had 19 touchdowns, 5 INTs, 2,499 yards. He was on pace for 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns to 10 interceptions.
With Kenny Golladay and a banged up Kerryon Johnson.
Right. And this year he was not as good, but I mean, again, Golladay was out for the year. He didn't play poorly. He had 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So it wasn't like, he was getting the ball intercepted all the time. But I mean, again, I think it's just.
Well, I think if you're talking about for fantasy, I think he's going to be great if he goes with the Colts. I guess what I was thinking is will he help the Colts? I don't know.
Oh yeah! Look what they did this year with 40-year-old Phillip Rivers.
He's an upgrade.
To me, there's very little upgrade.
No.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Oh, that's ridiculous. See, here's the other thing for me. I'm also going into this with knowing the Colts front office is pretty smart. I do want to give them credit. Out of all the messy front offices in the NFL, the Colts aren't bad. They've got a good front office. They are going to do something with $60 million of cap room. I think they get Allen Robinson. If not, they're going to get some other big wide receiver I get. So now you're telling me Jonathan Taylor, top offensive line, Allen Robinson, and Matthew Stafford. I'm all in on that idea. I'm all in for that for Indianapolis.
And so let's go back to the Rivers then comparison of like how much difference a season can make. So Rivers last year, 23 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. 2 years ago with the Chargers, 23 touchdowns, 20 interceptions. Last year, 24 touchdowns. He only went up by 1, but he cut his interceptions basically in half. He cut him 20 to 11. So, I mean, the Colts are going to put Stafford in a position to. So if they can improve his numbers that way, 40-year-old Phillip Rivers, they're going to be able to improve Matt Stafford's numbers.
We'll see. If he goes to them, right?
Which he will.
I don't know for sure.
I hope. We'll see.
The other one I'd like to talk about before we go, I don't want to go too long tonight, but Deshaun Watson. The interesting thing, I heard it very interesting, and it made me think of it when you were talking about Lamar Jackson. I heard Pat Mayo say if he was Harbaugh, he would take Deshaun Watson. And let Lamar go.
Yeah. If I had that choice, I would.
Wow.
I couldn't believe he said that, but when I started thinking about it, I was like,
Yeah, I don't even have to think. And maybe there's like a little teeny tiny bias because I covered him when he was in high school. But
that's right. You like Deshaun Watson.
It's like it's like what we said before about was the Super Bowl being in Tampa a factor of Tom Brady going there? Like maybe like 0.5%, but not really. So again, it's not. I can separate that with Deshaun. Now, I mean, Deshaun is an NFL quarterback. I mean, in like he's not like where Lamar. We're still kind of waiting to see. Like we thought a year ago, like the 2019 season, we thought like, oh man, he's really a passer too. He's not just a runner, because I mean he was like, man, he was drilling some balls in there. And then this year, it just seemed like
a step back.
Yeah, it was regression.
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun has always been a great passing quarterback, a guy who could be a pocket passer in a way. Well, maybe not. He does like to get outside. Maybe pocket passer is not really the right stretch, but like
he's mobile. He's mobile.
He's mobile. I mean, he's
pocket passer. I'd say he's got pocket passer.
Yeah.
Elite skills.
Yeah, Deshaun is more Aaron Rodgers than Lamar Jackson.
That was the comp I was thinking of too.
Yeah. He is. He is. I would. There are maybe, there's a handful of quarterbacks I would take over him if you were just starting.
Deshaun would have run it in. There's no doubt in my mind. Deshaun would have.
Yeah. I mean, I would take. I would take Mahomes over him. Of course, you're going to take Mahomes over anybody, and then maybe there's a couple other young quarterbacks in that discussion.
Yeah,
but I mean,
okay, Murray.
I'd take Deshaun.
I'd probably take Deshaun. I think the short list for me might be Mahomes, Josh Allen, because I like what I've seen out of Josh Allen, and then like I don't know that we've seen enough of a sample size from Justin Herbert yet. I like Justin Herbert.
You're all in on Herbert.
I like Herbert, but past that, like Deshaun, I think would be at worst for me if I was starting a franchise today, and who's a guy that I can have for 10 years. Deshaun would be no farther than like fourth for me, and maybe second, or maybe third or fourth would probably be where it would be.
What about you, AJ?
Oh my goodness. For how good I think Deshaun is in general.
No, who would you take him over if you are?
Who would I take him over?
Starting an NFL franchise.
I would take him over almost everybody, because this guy went 4-12. This guy went 4-12 this year. Still threw for 4,800 yards and 30 plus touchdowns this year. That is incredible. With a Houston offense where Will Fuller played half the year, Brandon Cooks, and who else? I will wait. Jordan Atkins at tight end.
Running game.
There you go. And I mean, to be fair, David Johnson did well with what he had this year, but he was out half the year. I know he was sitting on my IR spot from weeks 8 to 14 in fantasy football. So, yeah, Mahomes, depending on how well built my offense is, maybe Russell Wilson, depending on how my wide receiving core is or my running back core is. And I feel like a lot of the times we think of Deshaun as he's this old guy who's been here for 6 years. He's going into his 5th year. He is entering his prime in terms of age-wise for football, for just football knowledge in general. He is getting smarter. He's about to reach his peak. Mahomes, maybe Wilson, and that is a very big maybe. I wouldn't take Kyler Murray over him. I like Kyler Murray, but watching the entire Cardinals unit implode out of the playoffs and letting this team get in is just too much for me at this point. And that's about it, if I'm being honest.
I'm surprised, Jared, that you said you'd take Josh Allen. To me, Josh Allen is a poor man's Deshaun Watson.
I mean, you can make the argument for Deshaun. Allen's impressed me this season. Deshaun, I mean, he has without Hopkins. I mean, it was just like a collection of like number 2, 3 wide receivers, and David Johnson was solid mainly because he could also put up receiving yards. Like if you look at just like his pure rushing yards, they had very little of a running game. So, but I mean, Allen impressed me with kind of what he's done this year. He still overthrows too many balls.
Yeah.
Deshawn makes some mistakes too, though. I think they're pretty close. Of like one of them would be like a 2A and a 2B. But I mean, again, like if Deshaun is like my number 3 quarterback as opposed to number 2 in the whole NFL, like that's still pretty good. And I wouldn't take Russell over him. I like Deshaun doesn't really have. I mean, we've now just seen it to me too many times. The Russell Wilson late season slide. You know,
okay.
So I would take him over. So I would take him over Russell, and AJ might take Russell over him, but I might take Josh Allen over Deshaun. So we've each got like a guy that we would maybe take up. So I think we've pretty well got him. What about you, Judah? Where would you rank him if you were starting a franchise today? Where would he be
Mahomes, I would definitely take Mahomes over him. Aaron Rodgers, even at his old age, I'd take over him. Because I love Aaron Rodgers. But that is, I think he would be pretty high up there. I think those are the only two. Murray, actually, I mean, he was injured at the end of the year. I don't know. I do like him a lot.
And Deshaun's a winner. Like Deshaun's a winner. Like he
came from Clemson.
He won a state championship in high school.
Yep.
And he won national championship in college, beating that Alabama defense. He put up record numbers against the Alabama defense. I would love to see Deshaun on a good team,
and especially a team with an offensive line. That is the thing I think a lot of people forget. He's putting up these kind of numbers behind. All due respect, Texans offensive line are starting offensive linemen in the NFL, but you compare them to the rest of the NFL, they are bottom of the barrel, unfortunately, for the year.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't know. I might take Stafford over him.
That would be a Judah take to come back around.
That would be.
I like so Stafford's my 28th ranked quarterback overall, but in this comparison, he would be third.
I needed. You know what I'm gonna do this next season? I'm gonna have a notebook right here and keep a running list of Judah quotes and bring it at the end of the season. That is what I'm going to do.
I just love you so much because you had that quote ready to go a little earlier.
I've had that sitting there for 2 months.
All right, well, let's hit the chat real quick. Ryan N says, "What a crap! Bucks home Super Bowl came in a lame year. Limited crowds, full of boring rich people paying $13K a ticket. I don't know though. It might be the best year because, hear me out. Everybody will be tuning in. You got people that are still very hungry for sports. There's I don't know. It seems like there is a sort of a laser focus on the Super Bowl this year, as it's, I don't know, maybe sort of so TV wise, I think way more people are going to be tuning in.
Oh yeah, and especially comparing like the recent matchups, like Brady versus the Eagles was a great game, but Brady versus Nick Foles does not make a great tagline. Brady versus Jared Goff was the worst Super Bowl I've ever watched. Also does not make a great tagline. And I mean, Chiefs 49ers, fun Super Bowl, especially in the second half, but Jimmy Garoppolo versus Patrick Mahomes isn't exactly a headliner. You have Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes as your headliner for Super Bowl 55. It doesn't really get better than this in terms of advertising. You really can't make it. You can't write it any better than this.
Yeah, and you're going to have, it won't just be rich people in the stands because they're going to fill a bunch of those seats with healthcare workers who've been vaccinated. So that'll help fill it out a little bit too, and that's a sort of a feel-good storyline for the game. So.
Okay, well, that's interesting. Math Quest. Anthony is in the chat. He says, "What's up, Rotohackers?" Is Anthony the one who won? No, who won?
No,
that's Luis Slanting Chubb.
That's right. What's up, Rotohackers in the Dynasty Superflex? Oh yeah, because he was talking to us in.
Don't worry, MathQuest. AJ and I remember who you are.
I remember who he is.
Yep.
I just remembered that somebody with a is like a pseudonym. So he's just saying in Discord that he had this draft tonight. It's a Superflex Dynasty. And he says in this that Jonathan Taylor
That's
was the
crazy.
second running back coming off the board at 1.6. That's a little high.
But you got to think it's dynasty, and so
Yeah.
if you're drafting for going forward for 5 years, 10 years, whatever, you got to think.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's great right now, but in 3 years, will he be great? Saquon Barkley, we've seen his injuries the past 2 years. And so
he may never play again.
Yeah. And so you start looking then like I would imagine McCaffrey was still the number one running back off the board.
That's who him and AJ wanted to take. I wouldn't in Dynasty, I wouldn't take McCaffrey.
So then after that, you do really have to start thinking like who, if you're going to get a guy for 5 years, 7 years or whatever, that offensive line. And I mean, I can see I can see the rationale for it.
Yep.
For dynasty specifically.
Yeah, it does make sense. I hadn't thought of that. The problem is that it is it's a super flex, and I went into my super flex dynasty thinking I'm gonna get them all. I'm gonna get them by getting the running backs. I'm gonna go heavy on running backs and QB schmooby. But man, that was stupid. Somebody went in and got like 4 quarterbacks and good ones.
Dang.
And left nothing for the rest of us. And I ended up, that's the league where I had to play Fitzpatrick the last 2 years, most of the time as my flex. And now I got Brady in there, but Brady and Dak are my...
Okay, Dak's good though. That should be good.
And MathQuest says he picked CMC at the second pick overall, 1.2.
I get it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that, but it's good. It's good. He said the first wide receiver that was picked up was Tyreek Hill.
Huh.
But not until the second round. That's interesting because typically in Dynasty, wide receivers are more important. The problem with taking running backs, overloading on running backs, is they just don't have a long half-life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, to your point, Jared, I mean, it makes sense why, if you are going to take one, you better take a young one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys have any other points or questions or comments about QBs? I was thinking earlier of one, but I can't remember what it was. Don't forget we have Discord in the chat. Yeah.
Well, I am curious. Yeah, since we brought up Rodgers, I mean, again, we said there's other guys out there that we don't care about Darnold. We don't care about Trubisky. I don't know that we really care about Wentz, other than me hoping that the Colts don't get him, or if they do, they give up like a 5th round pick for him because Matt Stafford, just refused to be, loaded into a cardboard box and shipped to Indianapolis or
That'd
something.
Be a mistake. That'd be a mistake.
I'm not in on the Wentz thing anyway. So, so we'll throw out the possibility that Rodgers could be a potential. Do you think there's any? What do you think the chances are that he's not in Green Bay next season? Because I mean, he said like he kind of left it open of like not knowing what guys are going to be there, not knowing if he's going to be there. And I mean, I'm sure his feelings will be somewhat soothed as time goes on, but he's got to be mad about that call by Matt LaFleur. I mean, that was such a dumb call. So I think a bad call or a bad play or something like that, you can get over. But at this stage in his career, if you add up all the factors at this stage in his career, when they drafted what's presumed to be his successor last year anyway,
Didn't draft him a wide receiver. How nice would it have been for him to have had like Brandon Ayuk or T Higgins? Like how much of a difference would that have made? Can you imagine? Oh.
Yeah. So
imagine if they got Justin Jefferson. That was a 2nd round pick this year.
Yeah. So you've got him running out of time, and then seeing that his coach may in fact be an idiot. So does he like want to force his way out of Green Bay, or does this get sued over? What are the odds there?
I think the odds are probably that he stays.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, higher than 50, but I think it's higher than 40 that he goes. I mean,
really?
It's like a 60-40 split?
He said he thinks it's higher than 40, so he thinks it's like 58-42.
Oh, I don't know. It's bad.
45?
Yeah, okay, yeah. 40, yeah, 42. Yeah.
You do realize 45 is higher than 42, so
yes, I do. I do now. Math is hard. I think
this just goes back to what we were saying about the joke we were making about your Stafford rankings. I mean, this is literally it right here. Like, okay, Jared, your 42% is a little high here. Yeah. I wouldn't be willing to go higher than 45.
Hey, whoa! 40, yeah.
Oh, I've missed this.
This is fun, man. Oh my goodness.
But I do think it's high that he leaves. I don't think he wants. I don't think he wanted to stay there. I don't think he's wanted to stay there ever since LaFleur got there, to be honest. I think he wanted to give LaFleur a chance.
Yeah.
But I think he loves the fans. Mm-hmm. But I think that's all. I mean, he's committed to the fans, but he loves the adulation. But man, I could see him going to somewhere like the 49ers.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's the team that he always wanted to play for. That's the team that passed him over. That's the team that's great but needs a quarterback. But would the Packers be willing to trade him there? Because it's kind of a limited. Do the Rams really have anything to give up?
They don't have the money for that. I don't think
they don't have the money. They don't have the draft picks. The Chargers have their young quarterback. So then you've got San Francisco. But I mean, man, like him with that team could rule the NFC for a few years. So would the Packers want to do that? I think the Packers would have to commit to being in a rebuild, and it just seems like they're not there. So
yeah, and today the head guy came out and said, "We're not stupid. We're going to re-sign." What did he say? Something different?
Aaron
he may have said no. That I saw a quote. He may have said something a little less nice than stupid. But he's basically saying, "We're not stupid. We're going to re-sign Aaron Rodgers."
I think his contract lasts till 2023.
Yeah, it's not.
No, but he's demanding a new contract, though.
Well, he does have a potential out, I think, next year. I think next year he has a potential out after 2021, if I'm correct about that. Which is interesting, because I know you're talking about like with Matt LaFleur, and I was fed up with him, and I'm just thinking, like, how coaches have like their 3 to 5 year plan or whatever that they have to bring to the front office, and it's like backwards, right? Year 1, lose the NFC Championship. Year 2, lose the NFC Championship. Year 3, lose Aaron Rodgers. I've got it all planned out.
Right. It might be. I don't know. I think the way his contract is structured, like, it would still be hard, because I know when they drafted Jordan Love last year, they were talking about how difficult it would be to get rid of him. I mean, nearly impossible after during the last offseason if he had demanded a trade, and still very hard this year. So I think he's probably in there.
He might leverage all this stuff though to get I don't know. I guess the more I think about it, the more you're right. There's really, other than the 49ers, and why would they let him go there?
Yeah. I think it's tough, because they are just not at a stage where they probably want to rebuild. I mean, they made it to the NFC Championship. They were, very close to moving on there. And and that combined with the fact that, what are the realistic trade possibilities? I think there's just a limited number. So I don't know. And I can't imagine them doing it unless he just said, I want to go. I'm not going to be here unless, he just put his foot down. And it's hard for me to imagine Aaron Rodgers wanting that sort of label put on him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the article I saw was Aaron Rodgers reportedly wants new contract. Packers CEO says we're not idiots. QB will be back in 2021.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting too, because I know that he wants another wide receiver, and I thought it was the most ridiculous thing they didn't take a wide receiver last year. And this is no disrespect to Lazard, who had a fine first year, and MVS is the deep threat. But Green Bay is in the red when it comes to salary cap. They are bottom 10 in the league. So if Rodgers were to stay another year, I don't know what they could do to make their team better, because they don't have the money. They don't have the money to be able to make their team better in the first place. They're going to have to cut somebody.
And Aaron Jones is probably, I doubt Aaron Jones is back. I mean,
really?
Because you've got to pay him. He's a free agent.
True.
So
that may be where they cut the red.
But that won't even pull that much money out because he's been on a rookie deal. So that won't pull a ton of money off the books. And so you'll have Dylan and you'll have Jamal Williams, but neither one of them. I mean, Dylan's like a good big physical running back, but he's not like a Derrick Henry type. And man, I think you saw how much their offense suffered when Jones went out. I mean, so.
Yeah. Well, where's all their cap space going? I can't think of anybody that's. I mean, and
Aaron Rodgers, Darius Smith,
has
Devontae Adams, Preston Smith, Adrian Amos is making $10 million.
Who?
Adrian Amos, the safety, is making $10 million in 2020.
Really?
Yeah, I'm dead serious.
Huh. Because Aaron Rodgers is making just as much as Kirk Cousins and Carson Wentz.
Well, granted, they gave them new deals like right at the peak of their their heroicness as well, though.
I mean, yeah,
and that's the way it works with quarterbacks, though. Like, somebody gets a high contract and somebody ups them by $1 million, and it just keeps going up after that.
So what are his options if he's just done and they won't give him a new contract? He sits out.
I mean,
retires.
No, I don't think he would do that. I mean, I think, if it really came down to it, he could probably force his way out. I'm just saying, I don't think he'll take the steps to do that. And there's really unless they did trade him to San Francisco, which again, like, I don't think he could get them to do that within their division. Yeah. Is there really another ideal scenario besides San Francisco of a team that could and would trade for him and put him in a better position to win than what he's in now? I don't know that there is really.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I mean, the Ravens, if we're going back to the whole scenario, if they're done with Lamar, or if they're worried about Lamar.
Yeah. I mean, if the Ravens were willing to do that, that would be interesting.
That would
be a very interesting trade, like a Lamar for Aaron Rodgers trade.
Huh.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just beyond that, I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of possibilities out there, but that would actually be very interesting. I'd like to see that. But the other thing too, if we're talking about division, like the quality of your division of what AJ was saying before, okay, well, Matt Stafford's now leaving.
Yeah.
The Bears, who's going to be their quarterback next year? Probably.
That's a good point.
Probably no one very good. Sorry, AJ.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
As we keep talking, his odds of staying are
Yeah,
He might just be leveraging all this to get a good deal.
Maybe so. And then the Vikings are going to be probably solid with a good running game and all that.
Yeah.
But the NFC North is going to kind of be the AFC South of the NFC. So there's no reason really for him to be on a good team in a bad division to want out, apart from like maybe trying to get the coach fired or something.
It's almost a bad thing that the Bears. I mean, that's not almost. It's a bad thing that the Bears made the playoffs.
Yeah, you think?
I remember you talking about that, but now I'm thinking about it. Like, wow,
we tanked our draft position. We tanked the year. We tried to make the playoffs. Got stuck with Nick Foles in his contract, and now we have the stinking 24th draft pick. Judah Buddha, we're in trouble.
And that was why I was rooting for Packers Bills from the beginning of the playoffs, even though the Bills Colts was the first matchup, was because I knew the Colts don't have any real shot. I mean, they're not going to beat the Chiefs. They're not going to beat a team like the Chiefs. So there's no point. Just lose and try. You've got to address your quarterback position in a more long-term way.
And they answered your request.
And they did at least lose in the first round. I would have preferred them just not even made, but I knew that it was going to be difficult for them to miss the playoffs, and it really maybe changes their draft spot by 3 or 4 spaces. So it's not a huge deal. And then if they end up trading the pick away for Stafford, then it really doesn't matter at all.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Last controversy that we haven't said anything about is Tua, the starting quarterback. I mean, because that's where a lot of the rumors are that's where Deshaun wants to go. That's where he may end up going. Nobody's talking about Tua like he's our future. Nobody's looking at Tua like Herbert.
Yeah. And I think that the main reason why everybody's thinking that is when Brian Flores made that comment about Fitzpatrick and said, look, if we need to bring our closer in the 9th inning, we'll do it. I don't know how much attachment he actually has to his quarterbacks. And I think Miami would definitely be willing to do it because outside of the fact that you have to play Belichick twice and the Bills twice, the Jets twice is going to be, for the most part, pretty easy. You've still got one of the best defenses in the NFL. Miami's defense is out of this world, and they've got a decent amount of cap space. I think they got around $24 million to use this offseason. I don't know if the Texans are going to decide to trade him over there, and theoretically it makes sense. If I'm playing Madden and I'm like, oh, I can trade 2 and a couple draft picks for Deshaun Watson, that's great. But what is that going to say about Miami's organization? From a player standpoint, it makes sense. From an organizational standpoint, I don't think it does.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Because Tua went. What order did they go in? It went Tua then Herbert, or was it Herbert then Tua?
It was Tua then Herbert. Yeah.
So they took him over Herbert, which granted there were a lot of questions about both of them, but
big time, yeah.
But in hindsight, we don't get paid that money to make those decisions. So since we don't get the money, we also don't have to have the criticism. They have to have both if they're going to get paid to do it. So now in hindsight, oh my gosh, you could have had Justin Herbert and you picked Tua. So that's a tough spot for Miami. Yeah, I mean, I think if Deshaun would be willing to go there, and that's the other element too, is Deshaun has a no trade clause, even though he wants to be traded. Yeah, wherever they try to send him, he has to stay okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so that's the other question too, is where does he want to go? Does he, and so there's rumors about the Jets. There's rumors about wanting to go to the Dolphins. There's rumors about wanting to go back home to, maybe Carolina, which is not, I mean, he's from Georgia, but he, went to Clemson. So Carolina's home-ish.
Yeah. I kept seeing that people are saying home to North Carolina. I'm like,
it's not the state he's from or the state that he went to college, but it shares part of the name. It's
right.
It's close enough.
Right. It's in the vicinity there. So I don't know. So go ahead.
What about Rodgers going to Miami?
Miami makes sense for Deshaun because it's a it's a young coach
Yep.
that's having some success early on. The roster is getting built pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a ready-made team for a guy who's in his late 30s and looking to win. I think it makes sense for Deshaun, not for Rodgers.
And on top of that, the Texans are going to need a quarterback either way. And with the Packers, are they really going to want to have Jordan Love in one hand and Tua Tagovailoa in the other? And you've got two second-year quarterbacks that you have to balance. That's a mess.
I'm not saying about trading Tua. I'm saying trading. They've got a lot of draft picks to trade.
True. That is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they would have to Packers would be in the rebuild mode if they traded away.
I don't know if they'd be in rebuild mode because they still have a defense that had a great second half of the season. You still have Devontae Adams, and AJ Dillon came on at the end of the season. So I don't think they'd be in full rebuild mode.
Yeah, you're right. It's not like scorched earth rebuild.
Right. It's just, paint the walls, put a few shingles on the roof, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of fun to talk. I don't think Rodgers is
I think you're right.
going anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But this would be kind of interesting if this offseason did sort of set a new trajectory for quarterbacks being able to force their way out. I mean, because you look at, to have one, like a guy like Stafford rarely comes available. A guy like Deshaun almost never comes available. So to have both of them in the same offseason, maybe it's just purely coincidental. But if like players start to get more pull, like in say, like an NBA sort of situation, that makes the NFL much more interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Deshaun Watson is the LeBron James of the NFL right now. Like when he won it out of Cleveland, I feel like it's one of those scenarios.
Hopefully,
speaking of which,
go ahead.
When people go ahead. Hopefully,
no, I had nothing. I had nothing.
When people were saying he's going back home, I immediately thought he's going to the Falcons.
Me too.
That made way more sense.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense for the Falcons. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for Deshaun.
I don't know how badly he would want to play at home. I don't know, his thinking on that. And there's not really like a ready-made team there. Yeah. I think it's more complicated there because there's not a ready-made team exactly in Miami either. But you've at least had a couple years to watch what their coach has done and say, oh, he seems to, Flores, isn't it? That came from the Patriots. He seems to pretty well know what he's doing. Atlanta has an entirely new regime. You have absolutely no idea what you're getting yourself into there. Yeah. I don't think it really makes sense for him from that standpoint. And
on top of that, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and on top of that, Atlanta's a mess. You probably only end up with Julio or Ridley. So you're probably going to get one of them because guess what? Atlanta has the third least cap space in the NFL. They are going to probably have to break down and rebuild, and they have absolutely no defense and no running game because Gurley had a 1-year contract. It's a mess.
And hopefully they pick... You're talking about them ending up with Ridley or Julio. Hopefully they would pick Ridley because you could end up with Julio but not have Julio is basically what's going to happen because he's never going to be on the field. So, the other thing too is, Matt Ryan's owed a lot of money. The Texans would almost certainly have no interest in taking him back in a deal. So you would have to find another trade partner for Matt Ryan and then try. So I don't think it works for the Falcons. I could kind of see it working for Carolina. You could say, okay, they've got some good receivers. They've got Christian McCaffrey. Last year, they basically invested their entire draft in defense. It maybe Deshaun would have some interest in Matt Rule. But again, I don't know if you've really seen enough from him to really know what you're going to get there in Carolina. Yeah. So I don't know that Carolina makes that much sense. It will be interesting though because he's got say over it because of his no trade. So it'll be interesting to see what his mindset is and what he decides as this would be the best, situation for me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Thomas H., feeling a little the pain of our discussion, putting down the old Falcaroos. But
I'm sorry, Thomas H. Hey, if it makes you feel any better, both of our favorite franchises are going to be a mess next year. So you're not alone.
Hey, it's the NFL. You never know. They might make
True.
something work.
True. That is true.
I mean, who thought that at this point we'd be talking about Herbert being such a superstar? I mean, I liked him, but not everybody did.
Herbert, and I think yours was like the Herbert and the Derrick Henry train were just running parallel for you for years.
Just on Judah Faith. That is the only thing it ran on.
Yes.
Well, I mean, there's another example. Who would have thought the Titans, last year were going to do so good?
Yeah.
Everybody thought they were going to be a mess, and they were for the first. I got to go, but what? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to bring up, and also talking about Atlanta, though, they get Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator from Atlanta, from Tennessee, which I read an article. I can't remember where it was. This is Ryan's first offensive-minded head coach in years. He's been stuck with defensive-minded coaches. Who knows?
Could get better.
Maybe the Falcons' offense comes out and surprises people this year. With Ridley's last year on his rookie deal, Julio, if they do something about the running back position, maybe they shoot out and win games.
Good point. MathQuest, last comment. He picked Kelsey in the second round despite having the opportunity to get Kittle. And that is a question. Who would you have taken? It's a good question because, I mean, recency bias, and at this point in the season where all we have seen and seeing still is Kelsey dominating, it's hard not to pick Kelsey.
You could have asked me this at the beginning of the year or the end of last year or the beginning of last year or any of the last 4 years that I've had him on my fantasy team. My answer will and always will be Travis stinking Kelsey. Yes, brilliant pick. He is my boy. And Kittle, as great as he is, he's too injury prone.
Yeah, that's the difference maker for me is we're just starting to see him continually having these like knee, like basically problems with stuff from the knee down. And so that scares me. I'll probably stay away from him in drafts next year.
Yeah.
It scares me a little bit, but I'm thinking about staying away from Kelsey. This is the second year he's in a very long season, and the odds are against him. You just don't stay on top forever.
Unless you're Tony Gonzalez or Tom Brady. Then you can do whatever the heck you want.
Stay on top forever.
Okay,
it's
in his 17th season.
It's the T's. It's the T's.
Yeah.
Tom, Tony, and Travis. Now
there you go.
Maybe. And Thomas H. But let's move on. I don't know. I gotta go. You guys have any? It's like trying to think of something to say. Do you guys have anything else before we go? Let me cue up the old outro.
I don't think so. I just keep watching Twitter, waiting to see Stafford to the Colts. That's what I want to see. I'm gonna speak it into existence. It just makes too much sense. Makes too much sense. So it's like
that'll be interesting.
It was like Michael Pittman to the Colts. Like it just makes too much sense. And which, I mean, overall, like he didn't have the best rookie season, but pair Matt Stafford with a big athletic young receiver, and I think that could pay good dividends for both of them. So Matt Stafford to the Colts. Also, no, I do have one more thing. In our favorite topic, which is always a heated topic in NFL circles, left guard news.
Yes.
In left guard news, Quentin Nelson was named an All-Pro for the third straight season. He is one of only two players to ever be named an All-Pro in their first 3 seasons. The other player was Barry Sanders.
Oh, that's fascinating.
That is some
elite
bed,
and that made me sleepy. What about you, AJ?
I don't know. That left guard news immediately trumps anything else that I possibly could have had.
See, Judah always what's his thing is like, I want to know what their offensive line is like going into season. That's the thing I care about. And then you try to give him some relevant news on that, and then he's just like, no, sleepy time. I don't care about
news.
I don't care about your left guard news.
Yeah, I guess since he went to the Pro Bowl, he's
not the Pro Bowl.
All pro.
There's
a difference.
There is a big difference there.
Anyone gets in unless everybody is biased, so Roquan Smith doesn't get in, which I'm still mad about, and I will talk about for the next 5 years. All pro is about as high as you can get, which Roquan Smith was also snubbed from, and I will be yelling about for the next 3 years.
There we go. More information I needed. So we're
I miss doing this. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Fantasy got old, but talking to you guys about football did not. I did miss that.
Well, we got some more. We've got a lot of. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff to talk about too that we didn't have a chance to get in. Go and watch. If you get a chance, go and watch the Corridor Digital on Facebook. I don't know. I mean, on YouTube. If you know Corridor Digital, they've been around for a long time. They're really good special effects group. They did a deep fake. Luke. They redid his, and I thought it was pretty good. They messed up his hair, but whatever. So, anyways, that's all I got. I'm gonna say good night.
Good night.
You guys gonna say good night?
Good night.
It sounded you were hanging there. It sounded like you had something else
to
throw in. We were waiting with bated breath, just like people were waiting with bated breath when I was giving my left guard news, which was very interesting.
Hey, I was waiting on that one.
Speaking of left guard, what I was